Shall we start?
Yes, let's start. Thank you everyone for coming to the event. So today we have gathered to discuss the aspect of foreign trade refund exemption schemes, specifically the benefits which are available under the foreign trade policies by one of our partner who is leading the foreign trade practice. And Mr. Arun Khaitan, thank you, Mr. Arun Khaitan, for coming to the event and giving this seminar. He is leading this practice from last 20 years, and GST expertise along with Freedom Advisory is working with them, and he's leading this practice for the India region. So now I'll be giving the event to Mr. Khaitan to present, and thank you once again for coming to this.
Thank you very much, Kapil, for inviting me on this platform. And it's been we are in this trade in the DGFT consultancy and foreign trade policy consultancy since 1990. Whatever.
Mr. Khaitan, your
about the
voice is breaking.
How is it now? Is it okay now? Kapil, is it okay now?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. So today we are talking more about the refund schemes, which are basically there to promote the export of products or services, and they are given as an incentive by the DGFT, Ministry of Commerce. So so the export promotion schemes which are there in the foreign trade policy, which I intend to cover today, are MEIS, the Merchandise Export from India scheme, RoDTEP, Remission of Duties and Taxes on Exported Products scheme. This scheme has been announced, has been given a cabinet approval, but it is yet to be implemented by the department. And the moment MEIS goes, RoDTEP scheme will start. Then there is SEIS scheme, which is specially for the people who are giving services from India and earning foreign exchange in various fields. Service Export Promotion Scheme. And there is another scheme by the name of ROSCTL. This scheme was announced specifically for textile exporters last year, and MEIS scheme was discontinued for them. So when we talk about MEIS, so as you can see, the meaning of MEIS is amply clear by the description itself, by the meaning Merchandise Export from India scheme. And this scheme, the objective of the scheme is to promote the manufacture and export of the notified goods and products. The benefit on this scheme is anywhere between 2% to 7% on the realized FOB of exports. So in this case, if your money has not been realized, you cannot get this benefit. And if the realized amount is less than the FOB, which is as per shipping bill, then you will get the MEIS claim on the amount which is less. So for example, if the shipment value was USD 10,000 and the realized amount is 9,800, then the MEIS is admissible only on 9,800. So I am sure a lot of you are already into the export trade, so you would know the nuances that why there can be deductions it can be on account of the bank charges of the remitting bank or of the receiving bank. Then there can be some difference in the freight which is mentioned on the shipping bill and the actual freight which is levied. So what happens if the shipment is C&F? The claim which we apply is as per the FOB on shipping bill, which is on the basis of the freight which has been mentioned on the shipping bill. So if the money has been realized, which is less, than the FOB, then the money
case of a citizen of India or a person of India who is outside India comes to India for a visit, a period of 60 days, which I told, shall be subjected by 180 days. Meaning thereby, if he has been in India, if he comes to India for 180
Should I continue?
then only he will be called arrested. If he comes to India, who is a citizen of India or a person of India, if he comes to India for 181 days in the previous year, he was called.
Let me check. I think
Resident has to pay tax on the globally.
Mr. Ketan, I think
The query is there a query?
it's not query. Some voice is coming.
Now, what has happened? They have introduced one more.
I'm not able to.
Now, I'm giving the extended explanation.
Okay. So should I continue? Because we have a lot
Yes.
to cover and very less time. Okay. So
Yes.
so the freight amount was different, or maybe the payment has been received less by the exporter. So in those cases, the payment amount and the shipping bill amount will differ, and whichever is less, the amount, the MEIS will be applicable on that amount itself. Okay, so the benefit of MEIS is by the issue of a duty credit scrip. It is previously it was a physical, it was used to be issued in the physical form previously, and but now it is issued in electronic form. That duty credit scrip can be used for payment of basic custom duty, central excise, service tax, and other custom duties under foreign trade policy as well. But after the GST has not been included in this regime. You cannot pay GST by this script. Okay, so in the industry, when the companies which have import transactions, they generally buy such scripts in order to pay the duty of the amount specified above. And now you would wonder why they would buy this scripts. So there's an example that if a company has got a scrip of 100 INR and they don't have a transaction of import, so they can sell such script at 95 to 98% of the scrip value. So assuming company A sold such script to B at 95, so B will be benefited by ₹5 when they import. They have to actually pay a duty of ₹100. So they buy a script having a face value of ₹100. The duty will be debited for ₹100, but what they paid in the market for it was ₹95. So if we extrapolate it to importers who are paying crores of duty, a 95 may be a lesser rate, the discount can be even less. The rate could be even 98%. So let's say somebody who has a duty of 1 crore rupees, a discount of 2% means saving of 2 lakh rupees on a duty which he had to pay anyway to the custom department. The sale of this scripts is very fast, and normally it is realized into bank very soon. The moment it is issued and registered at customs, it can be easily sold and sold very fast. Okay. So Now the question is, how will you see whether you are eligible for this MEIS? So first of all, there are some ineligible categories which are mentioned down, which you can see later. First, your item or your product or your transaction does not have to be in that ineligible category. Then there is Appendix 3B, which is notified in foreign trade policy, which is for the notified goods with HS code, and the notified countries are mentioned there. And these, whenever you are exporting something, you have to compare it with that Appendix 3B, whether item falls into that or not. What I can do is I can share with you appendix.
I think it's better if you just continue the presentation. That would be better because the connectivity is low
Okay.
with the deck. We are not able to see the deck.
Okay, I'll do that. Mm. Okay. So Appendix 3B basically lists HS code wise description and the eligible rate, which could be anywhere between 2 to 7%. Okay, so here we are. So our item is not falling under the ineligible category. And then we see the Appendix 3B, we see that, well, our HS code is there, our item description is there, everything is there, 3% मिलेगा हमको. So हमारा product is eligible for applying for the MEIS. Previously, there was a challenge in getting the landing certificates when the scheme was announced on 1st April 2015. There were specified markets or countries, and if you were exporting there, you needed a landing certificate. So if you are exporting ready-made garments to South Africa, they would say, go to the shipping line and get me a landing certificate that the goods have reached that port in South Africa from the shipping line. So that was a major hassle. But the same thing was, by on 4th May 2016, as a process where they want the transactional ease, this condition of the certificate was, eased, and it is no longer required now. So the Appendix 3B, which was notified on once again 2016, it was made available, and it had a lot of new items as well. Okay, and that is number one. Okay, fine. So there are two major Standing requirement was done away with. The whole Appendix 3B उन्होंने बोला कि अभी एलिजिबल चेक और अगर आपकी एलिजिबल है तो आप उसको फाइल कर सकते हैं। ये जो मैं बात कर रहा था ऊपर आपसे, आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट नॉर्मल एक्सपोर्ट्स। इफ देयर आर ई-कॉमर्स कंपनीज जो आप कोरियर से एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं या फॉरेन पोस्ट ऑफिस से एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, उनके लिए भी प्रोविजन आ गया था दैट यू नो इफ द कंसाइनमेंट इज अप टू 5 लाख यू कैन गेट MEIS। तो आप एलिजिबल हैं। नाउ द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इज कि चेकलिस्ट के अंदर हमें क्या देखना है फाइनल करने के लिए। तो फर्स्ट HSN क्लासिफिकेशन डिस्क्रिप्शन वी चेक एंड देन वी कंफर्म अपेंडिक्स 3B में एलिजिबल है। मेन दिस पॉइंट, द सेकंड पॉइंट, द शिपिंग बिल। द शिपिंग बिल में देयर इज अ कॉलम on the last page which says incentive reward column. This should be mandatorily compulsorily marked yes. Normally it is marked Y or yes. If it is not marked yes, no matter what, you will not get the MEIS incentive. So whenever we do the health checkup for the companies to analyze the benefit, we suggest that such options should be compulsory ticked yes. Okay, there is a declaration of intent which was prevalent before, so even now we suggest that it is recommended that it is our intention to claim MEIS on this shipping bill. This should be written, and normally this is written in the column on the first page which says marks and numbers. Fine. So if you have a shipping bill which says Y, this is enough. If you have a declaration of intent as well, it is even better. So now you have 4 things. You have the HS code, you have the description, which is telling you the Appendix 3B, you have the shipping bill which has marked Y. Now you need the EBRC that the money has been realized by bank. There are some practical challenges which we will discuss later. So the basic documentation is ready for claiming MEIS. And then, of course, every exporter needs an RCMC. This is a registration cum membership certificate from the relevant export promotion council. So whichever exporter, in whichever category you are exporting, there are various export promotion councils. You have to register there, and that along with these documents, we have to file the DGFT, apply for MEIS. Now, of course, everything is online, and the hard copy need not be submitted to the DGFT if they are EDI ports. In some cases where the shipment is from non-EDI port or it has gone to Nepal, then the physical copy has to be submitted. We can claim up to 50 shipping bills in one MEIS application. तो अगर आपका एक एप्लीकेशन का क्लेम आपका अगर 2000 बन रहा है, 5000 बन रहा है, तो एक एप्लीकेशन नहीं, आप 50 शिपिंग कीजिए, साथ में 5 लाख, 10 लाख, 20 लाख जो भी बने, फिर आप उसको फाइल कर सकते हैं। उसके बाद MEIS के आप
म्यूट
उसके पास एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस करेगी DGFT, इशू होगा MEIS इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म में, वी हैव टू डाउनलोड इट। डाउनलोड करने के बाद इट इज सेंट टू कस्टम्स रेलेवेंट पोर्ट। ये पोर्ट वो वाला पोर्ट होता है जिससे आपने एक्सपोर्ट किया है। तो जिस पोर्ट से एक्सपोर्ट किया है, हमें वो पोर्ट एज रजिस्ट्रेशन पोर्ट अप्लाई करते हुए लिखना पड़ता है, ऑप्शन देनी पड़ती है, एंड देन दिस MEIS is sent to that port for registration. Registration is
Ashish Gupta ji, request you to kindly mute.
MEIS after being issued is transmitted to customs electronically. Customs receives it, and when you submit an application to the Deputy Commissioner of Customs for registration, they check that it is reflecting in the system that there is no there's a stamp of no alert, that you are not there's no alert against you, and then they register the MEIS and give it back to you with a stamp. And now this MEIS is ready to be sold. So if you are an importer yourself, you can import it yourself, or it can be sold to any importer that you know, or it can be sold to a dealer to the importer at a discount of 2 to 3% or 4%. And normally you will get the money the same day. Okay, fine. So time limit for claiming the benefit is 12 months from the LEO date as mentioned on shipping bill, or if the EDI shipping bill is let's say uploaded, there's a delay in uploading of shipping bill, or the shipping bill has not been printed, then if 12 months or the uploading of EDI shipping bill, whichever is later. So normally the uploading of shipping bill does not take that long, so you can take the 12 months of LEO period as the main period, which is your last date for filing the application. Of course, there is a further provision in the FTP that you can file the claim even up till 2. For example, a shipment which had a LEO of 22 April 17 was 21st April 2018. Okay, so sometimes what happens, एक साल के चक्कर में हम 22 अप्रैल कर देते हैं, एक साल एक दिन पहले खत्म हो गया, 21 अप्रैल 18 आपकी लास्ट डेट हुई, उसके बाद फिर आपके पास 2 अप्लाई करने के लिए टाइम बार्ड होने से पहले 21 अप्रैल 2020 आज के दिन में आपका 22 अप्रैल 2017 से पहले का कोई भी MEIS क्लेम है तो वो टाइम बार हो गया, तो 36 महीने is your rejection will claim. Acha, there has been because of the COVID, there has been an extension given by DGFT that for shipping bills where LEO was between 1st February to 31st May 19, the period has been extended to 15 months instead of 12. Okay. And as you would have already, you know, it's in the news everywhere. Cabinet has already given approval to a scheme by the name of ROTTEP, remission of duty and taxes on export.
Please, someone put the phone away from this laptop.
And ROTTEP will start. The ROTTEP scheme will replace the MEIS scheme. A trade notice is already out, and it would be done gradually. It has been extended till 31st December 2020 now. Since all the filing of the MEIS is online, so you have to ensure that you keep all your EBRC, be it shipping bill, they have to be kept. Anytime. So who all should be interested in MEIS? जो भी एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं MEIS को जरूरी देखें. जो प्रोफेशनल्स हैं जिनके पास एक्सपोर्टर से लिंक है, this is a very important benefit which is being given in addition. MEIS is being given in addition every other benefit, be it your drawback, be it your advanced license, be it your EPCG, be it anything. MEIS is in addition to all the benefits. It does not hamper that if you are claiming MEIS, you will not get this. It is not like that. So MEIS is in addition. So kindly do not miss out on MEIS. एक जो पहले पॉइंट बताया है आपको रिगार्डिंग दी डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ इंटेंट, अगर आपका कोई ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है जिसके ऊपर ड्रॉबैक नहीं है, नॉर्मली वो फ्री शिपिंग बिल में जाएगा। अगर ड्रॉबैक है उस शिपिंग बिल के ऊपर, उस पर डिक्लेरेशन या रिवॉर्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम ऑटोमेटिकली वाई आता है। पर अगर वो फ्री शिपिंग बिल में चला गया और डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ इंटेंट रिवॉर्ड स्कीम अगर वाई नहीं है, तो आपको MEIS अगर उस पर 5% भी है तो MEIS नहीं मिलेगा। तो MEIS में most critical part is the shipping bill, where a lot of exporters miss out on putting a Y on the reward incentive scheme and hence losing out on a benefit which is being given by the government. Okay, so if you're an exporter, you know आपको 5% मिल रहा है तो आप अपनी costing के अंदर उसका benefit ले सकते हैं. Trade common in claiming. MEIS covers almost every chapter of HS code. It has a very wide coverage, and since it was announced in April 15, scope has been increased to cover a lot of items now. Okay, how do professionals go about it? So the confirming the eligibility of MEIS, filing of applications, obtaining the claims, and filing the appeal if required. Okay, in the process of filing, there can be the rate goes. So we can guide you in that. Of course, you need a DG website. See, when we apply on the DGFT website, we check that the shipping bills are coming online, which have been transmitted from customs. If they are not coming, uploaded by the bank. So when both of them come online, they are attached and the claim is filed after accounting for the freight which has been paid. So that is a review of the EBRC as it comes in on, and then at the last, to realize the claim, the transfer of SEIS. Common the problems that are being faced right now, which are still there, is the shipping bills are not reflected. They do not show that they're online from customs. BRC does not attach with the shipping bill. It would be surprising that if there is an error in mentioning the port, if there is an error, in the amount, even then the shipping bill will not attach with the or if the shipping bill has not been mentioned properly. In these cases, the shipping bill will not attach. Okay, and the description and HS codes, if they are not matching, even then there can be a challenge while processing the application. Sometimes it happens that after the MEIS is issued, it is transferred to the customs again online for registration. That will not get reflected at customs, so which delays the registration and ultimately the transfer of MEIS. What are the practical questions which was raised by the department? Okay, basically HSN code and description and the EB, obviously they are checked by the department and they are reconciled and the verification can be done. Queries can be sent if there is any mismatch between them. Okay, what is the minimum time?
Mr. Ketan, can you repeat again? Your voice is not coming. Mr. Ketan, can you repeat? Your voice is not coming.
when
Mr. Ketan, you have to repeat. Your voice is not coming.
hello, can you hear now, Kapil?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So since when did you miss me? Since when I was not audible?
So I think you need to provide what are the practical aspects that would be better.
Okay. So the practical challenges which are there, they are based on the HSF code description, checking the eligibility, EBRC, its reconciliation, all those verifications which are done by the DGFT. Those are the practical challenges which have to be handled. If there's a mismatch between the descriptions and HS code, then the department will surely query about them. Why there's a mismatch? Because when everything is given in a schedule, they say why was there a mismatch between that? Okay. The minimum time taken for processing the claim can be taken as 7 working days, which will include the time starts after we file the application for MEIS, issuance from the DGFT electronic form, and then registration at customs. So it should normally be completed within 7 working days. These are the ineligible categories which I was talking about. EOUs, supplies made from DTA to SEZ units, export of imported goods, export through transshipment, deemed exports. These are exports where goods do not leave India. SEZ products exported through DTA units. In this respect, well, this is not covered, but if a DTA is exporting through SEZ, there is a provision, a clarification, where if the name of DTA unit is written and it is being directly exported through SEZ with proper documentation, the benefit of MEIS can be availed. It is available. So any items which are restricted for export, of course, services are not covered. Red sanders and B sand, diamond, gold, silver, platinum. These are a whole list. Okay, cereals, sugar, fruit, petroleum, milk, meat products. These are also not covered. And exports made by units in free trade warehousing zone. So, okay. Kapil, this rounds up our MEIS. Should I immediately continue?
So thanks, Arunji. The objective of the MEIS scheme, which we discussed just now with Arunji, is more from the point of view because there are certain participants as well as the which are into the practice as well as from the industry players. So we want to highlight all those persons that this scheme is available, and as per my knowledge that there are very few professionals who are actually undertake this level of professional services to their clients and as well as analyze their clients. So during this period, what is my suggestion is that you should analyze all those clients wherein this scheme can be availed. If they are availing it, then you need to revisit all those benefits if they can attain for their clients, as well as if industry person, then they can also suggest that the company should go for such level of benefits, which specifically if, since we have covered the MEIS scheme, the MEIS, and again I want to highlight that the scheme can be availed for a period of 17-18, 18-19 and 19-20, because generally the people comes to us and say that the period of 18-19 was the last date is, and before that we are not able to claim. So I want to highlight that we can claim the benefit, and that benefit can be claimed subject to certain reductions, but the quantum of benefit will be less as compared for the previous year 19-20, or I'll say 18-19. but the benefit will be available. And for all those importers which are presently not exporting and they are only the importers, they can also buy these level of scripts, which is very uncommon in the industry. That if you are an importer and you are paying your duty and you are not an exporter, so you are not eligible, but you can buy these scripts from the exporter who are actually availing this benefit, and that script can be used. So that script can be bought at a price of 95 and you can utilize that 95, but the redemption value is 100. So you will save your 5 rupees duty.
Okay, this scheme, I think there was a question. Without EBRC, MEIS cannot be applied.
So, Mr. Khaitan, what we'll do is we'll take the query session. We are collating all the questions, and we'll take the query in the last.
Fine. So I'll run through the ROTTEP scheme.
You can run through this scheme of remission of duty.
Okay, fine. I will not go word by word. ROTTEP scheme. The basis for this scheme was because MEIS was not compatible with WTO scheme because it was being given on an ad hoc basis, and there was no basis for fixation of the rates. So what the government did was, and of course they lost their case in WTO. So what the government did was they came up with this scheme last year and went to the whole industry. And you can see all these embedded state duties and taxes, which are a cost to every manufacturer or and local level. So here's a list. So there was a India-wide survey done from September onward.
Mr. Khaitan, your voice is not audible. Can you repeat?
Okay, there was a nationwide survey done by DGFT through export promotion councils to assess the impact of all these duties and taxes which are being suffered by manufacturers and exporters. And after collating their data, we suppose the fitment structure is complete and they are in the process of notifying the rates for ROTTEP scheme very soon. And since they may not be able to do it for all the chapters, so we have this trade notification which has just come out, which says that detailed operation. Says that as soon as the ROTTEP scheme will be announced for a particular chapter, the MEIS will go away from that day, and the ROTTEP scheme will be applicable. And it is supposed to be issued in an electronic form, similar to what MEIS is similar to the way the MEIS is being issued. Since it is a scheme which is in future, more details. Approval has been done for the scheme, and it is already so SEI scheme. Hello, Kapil?
Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
Okay, fine. 1 minute. SEIS scheme, as the name says, is for service exports. Service exports was not getting its due as the merchandise exports, and before 1/4/15 they were getting a scheme by the name of Served from India scheme, SFIS, which was non-transferable. So basically the hotel industry was the one which was mainly using that scheme, because mostly service providers do not import or they do not have heavy requirements for import of inputs or capital goods. So this scheme was announced on 1/4/15, And of course, it was to encourage maximize export of notified services. The benefit is between 3 to 7% on the there's a, this is wrong. The rate is 3 to 7%, but it is on the net foreign exchange of the service provider. So whatever earning has been made by the service provider, less the spent by the service provider in relation to those services, that has to be deducted to arrive at the NFE. Okay, in what the benefit is realized, same way, it can be used for importing, and the way MEIS is sold, SEIS is also sold, and almost the same rate. There's a difference of only 25 paisa when the sale is done normally. Okay, now what needs to be thoroughly checked is again the eligibility in service by the service provider, because there have been major issues in checking the eligibility and in applying, while some service providers apply without even knowing that they are eligible, and some do not apply because they think they are not eligible. The first thing is that he should be located in India. Physical presence should be in India, and the services for which foreign exchange has been received, there can be only two ways. Either it is a supply of a service from India to any other country. You are in India, but your customer is outside, which is called mode 1, cross-border trade, or supply of a service from India to service consumers of any other country, of any other country in India. For example, if a customer comes to India and you are giving the service to a foreign company or a foreign national, but you have to be again in India. So it means that if you are running an offsite, you are working on site on the client's office and giving services, that will not qualify for SEIS eligibility. So there are only two modes: supply of service from India to any other country, or from India to service consumer of any other country in India. And the minimum for NFE should be 50. For the proprietor, it is $10,000. Okay, NFE is defined. This is very important. Earnings of foreign exchange, whatever the company has earned, in what way? By 9.511 and 2, by this way they have earned, minus total expenses oblique payment or remittances of foreign exchange relating to the service sector in the financial year. It means जो भी आपने फॉरेन एक्सचेंज अर्न करी, उसके रिलेशन में आपने जो भी खर्चा किया फॉरेन एक्सचेंज में, वो आपको माइनस करना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पे ये बात ध्यान रखने वाली है, while preparing the application, expenses have to be taken on accrual basis for financial year, whether they have been paid or not. But the receipts taken only on the realized basis. Specific declaration along with the chartered accountant that the receipts for which we are we are seeking the SEIS, they have been realized, and the statement itself has to give FIRC wise reconciliation. Okay, and let's say if there is a service provider who is earning foreign exchange and also giving services in India, so the expenses have to be thoroughly checked as to whatever is attributable to that foreign exchange and whatever is attributable to the local business. They have to be studied. So calculation of NFE is a major part in SEIS. We हमने डिस्कस कर लिया, the related expenses should be okay. is given comes in, उसके लिए जो भी सर्विसेज दी जाती हैं उनका पेमेंट इंडियन रुपीज में मिलता है, बट दे आर कंसिडर्ड as having been received in foreign exchange and SEIS is applicable on that. Okay. If the IC holder is manufacturer and service provider both, then total expenses oblique payment shall be taken into account for the service sector only. This is a very simple basic thing, but a lot of people miss out on is having an active IC. So service providers normally don't need an IC for exporting, for giving services. So they are not in a habit. So there have been cases where the service provider was eligible for SEIS, but because there was no IC, he could not apply. So having an IC is must. This is for hotels, or even if you have earned foreign exchange through credit cards, even that shall be taken into account. It is not necessary that the money should have come only into your bank. Okay. So how to derive the benefit?
Mr. Ketan, in this point, I want you to highlight this aspect, that how to arrive at the net foreign exchange value, because all the industry players, they want to understand that the law says that it should be a positive NFE. There is a minimum threshold limit to attain. Considering there is a large there's a large chunk of service professionals who are exporting the services. So how to compute this NFE, and what is the general question which the client asks, wherein you feel that this should be known to this platform persons?
कपिल, NFE का अगर हम ये पढ़ें, NFE के the policy says that बेसिक NFE तो ये होगा कि जितना पैसा आपका फॉरेन एक्सचेंज आया, जितना गया, तो बेसिक कैलकुलेशन वो हो गई. अगर आप सारा का सारा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज इज इन रिलेशन टू योर एक्सपोर्ट प्रोसीड्स, तो कोई इशू ही नहीं है. आपने $1 lakh.
There are audience from Chennai, so I request to speak in English only.
If all your earnings are in foreign exchange and can be attributed directly, the key word is attributed directly to that earnings which you have earned foreign exchange. So the company has to be convinced in themselves that whatever expenses have been done in foreign exchange, whether they are directly attributable, whether they are proportionately attributable, or whether they are not
Mr. Ketan, your voice is breaking. Hello? Hello? Mr. Ketan? Mr. Ketan, is my voice audible? Mr. Ketan, your voice is not audible. Just give us 2 minutes. Give us 2 minutes. Mr. Khaitan is reconnecting, so just give us 2 minutes.
बंद कर अपना। अब आ गए सर, आ गए। ओके।
I think we are going to start with the question and answers of the participants, right? Okay, can we just finish very fast? Yeah, I think. Okay, NFE, what needs to be clearly defined are the expenses. Are they directly attributable to your service which you are giving, or are they not? If they are directly or even partially attributable, please do not contest. Please put them in the expenses sheet. Only if you are thoroughly confirmed that they are not directly attributable, only then exclude them, because there would be a comparison made with the balance sheet and the audit report where all your expenses in foreign exchange would be visible and you would be questioned regarding that. So that is that is my take on that. For NFE, go by what is directly attributable to the services that you have rendered, whatever foreign exchange you have earned. If you say, well, it was required for that, just reduce that amount, put that amount in the expense tab. Okay. Kapil, we can just skip to the issues that are there,
Yes.
A way of checking your eligibility. Now there's a three-way matching of which is again mentioned in C. So the C code, provisional code, lists all, and it has an explanation to that. So if there is a mismatch between these three, then you can be certain that the department will raise a query or a justification for them, and you will have to convince them. So that is one major point of contention currently, where the three-way matching is not there. So you are bound to get a query letter for that, or even a show cause notice. And if the invoice, if it is a broad-based invoice, okay, wherein the description mentioned on the invoice is spelled out broadly. Let's say if it just says IT services, back office services, that will not go down well with the department. They will surely ask you questions about that. Foreign exchange earnings and expenses do not tally with the audit report. You will have to give clarifications for that. justification regarding expenses that have not been shown as attributable to the services earned. I just talked about it. Okay. Timeline FY 16-17 is time barred. Claims can be filed for 17-18, 18-19. For 18-19, the last date has been extended to 31st December 2020 without a late cut. Ineligible services, we can skip that. Yeah, Kapil. Devan.
So now we'll be taking the questions. Thank you, Mr. Ketan, for the session. There are certain queries which has come. We'll take up each one. So the first query is, can we apply for MEIS, SEIS without EBRC as banks takes too long to obtain EBRC from the DGFT?
Not be applied without EBRC.
Mr. Ketan, your voice is not audible.
Online in the custody building applied. EBRC cannot be applied without
Ketan, can you
EBRC.
repeat? Mr. Ketan, can you repeat?
Without EBRC, MEIS cannot be applied. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, without EBRC, MEIS cannot be even applied. So forget about any query or rejection. You cannot even apply for that.
Fine,
As
thanks.
far as
So
SEIS, in SEIS, the realization is compulsory, and in the statement which has to be certified by chartered accountant, FIRC wise reconciliation has to be given. There is an exemption only for the hotel industry and the hospitals, where the FIRC wise reconciliation is not compulsory, although they have to give a consolidated statement of reconciliation. So without FIRC, you cannot even apply for the SEIS because it has to be certified by chartered accountant.
second question is whether MEIS license can be used partly to pay import duty.
It can be used partly to pay import duty, but that is not so in practice, especially with effect from 14th January 2019, where online transfer was made compulsory. Now anyone, normally the buyer will source the value of that license for which they have to get the duty debited. But once it is with them, to answer your question, partially it can be debited, but normally for the exporter, he would want to sell it in one go. Is it okay?
Yes. So does one person has asked process and documents to apply for the SEIS script without BRC? As you mentioned that without EBRC, we cannot apply the SEIS.
No, SEIS cannot be applied. You know, the documents when the FIRC may be presented after the department asks for it. Okay, but while preparing the statement documentation, collating the documentation, the FIRC statement is compulsory, invoice wise, and FIRC reconciliation has to be given at the time of applying for SEIS. That is a basic document.
So there's another query wherein it has been said that consulting company provides services from India to Thai company, and they have a majority of the expenses as salaries of its employees. Will the same be considered as accrual expense in SEIS case?
No, it goes by how you are booking it in your books. If the same is being accounted for in the books as an expense, of course it would be accounted. It has to be taken while accounting for the expense.
So with this, there are two questions which generally the industry asks us, that whether the expenses only with regard to the foreign exchange has to be taken, or even the expenses in Indian rupees can be taken.
No, only the foreign exchange. It is the net foreign exchange earned.
So that's fine. For the net foreign exchange, the income is being accrued from. So is it on accrual basis or it is on receipt basis? Second, whether the same expenses can be taken from the other business as well. So let's suppose there are three ABC business and B and C business are incurring certain expenses, but they are not exporting, but the A is actually exporting the services. So whether the B expenses can be taken, and as well as what are the common expenses which are attributable to both the, so how the bifurcation needs to be done. Is there any clarity on that?
No, there is no, Kapil, there is no clarity or there are no guidelines. It is basically how you when you are doing accounting for your entity, for your company, then you very well know whether these expenses are the common expenses or are these expenses have been incurred specially for this job. So that is very case specific and has to be, you have to go understand deep so as to, give a more clarity on that. There are no specific guidelines for that in the FTP.
Next question is, FEO membership is a must for claiming SEIS benefit?
No. For claiming SEIS, we have to apply the RCMC to Service Export Promotion Council, not FIEO. FIEO RCMC is mainly for multi-product category.
Is for 18-19, the last day is 31st December for applying the MEIS without cut?
For applying MEIS or SEIS?
For applying for MEIS for the period 18-19.
No. MEIS is not applied for the full year. SEIS is applied for the full year. And I think he must have written MEIS wrongly. For the financial year 18-19, the last date is 31 December 2020 without late cut for applying SEIS. MEIS is applied, according to shipping bill wise, 15 days from the let export date. Yes, the SEIS can be applied for the previous periods. 16-17 is barred now. For the previous periods, it can be applied.
So, as per your answer, the FEO membership is not required. It is only the Export Promotion Council MC has to be taken to obtain the benefit of SEIS.
Service Export Promotion Council (SEPC) is mandatory for the service providers.
So, thanks, Mr. Khitan. I think, is there any another one? So we have just received one more query. I am an importer. I purchase MEIS license for 1 lakh. Now I want to pay only import duty of rupees 50,000 only. Then can the balance can be used for later on?
Yes, it can be used.
So the answer to the audience is that MEIS, the license, the script which you purchase, can be used partially for multiple consignments.
Then there was one question regarding IC code. Yes, IC code is compulsory for SEIS. If you don't have IC code, forget about SEIS.
Then another question which is being asked is, which is again a very common question generally asked from the clients, but whether the RCMC can be applied for past period and the benefit can be claimed under the script.
RCMC, the policy says you should have an IC code for the period when the service was offered, and while applying you need an RCMC. So practically, if you take the RCMC today, there should be no issues in getting the past claims. There can be issues only if you don't have the IC.
So with
You can
this,
apply the RCMC. You can apply the RCMC today and apply for the past claims as well.
so RCMC can be taken for the past periods, and the benefit will not be denied by the authorities. However, we need to ensure that IC should be there during that period when the exports were made.
Yes.
For 17-18, do we for 17-18 do the service provider need IC code? The answer is again, I can reply on behalf of Mr. Khaitan is yes. But you cannot apply if you do not have the IC code during that period for the when you have made the actually exports. RCMC is also necessary. That is one another question, and I think the RCMC is a must document, though it is not essential that it should be there at the time when the exports were made. You can take now and claim the benefit for the past period.
Yeah.
Any specific, Mr. Khaitan, just to summarize, and for the since I specifically want for all the professionals as well as the trade persons should know that this is one scheme which is which a company which are normally using, they know, but for the professionals or for the industry professionals in terms of the service industry specifically, they should know the scheme. And just for 2 words for all those persons.
What I see is still a lot of non-awareness. The non-awareness of these schemes, despite being, you will see them in media everywhere, but basic things are still not spelled out. And so when I talk about eligibility of these schemes or the basic requirements of having an IC code or putting that Y in the shipping bill, let's say if you had a Y on shipping 3 years back or you had an IC 3 years back, even something can be done even now. So the basics of the scheme need to be explored, and the trade needs to be educated for that. So I think still the awareness and education has to be there, where the scheme can percolate down to the people who do not know much about it, and they're eligible for it. So that is for my professional friends who can be instrumental in that, in spreading the word around as to the eligibility of for the MEIS and SEIS schemes.
Thank you, Mr. Khaitan, for the session, and it was a wonderful session. There was certain disconnect of the voice, but at the end we have made resolve all the queries of the and in case if anyone has a query further after this, then also they can drop an email, either update@Kritam Advisory, or you can drop an email at kapil@gstexpertise.com. So we'll be sharing the video session for the sessions. But it will take time to upload and whenever it will be uploaded, we'll update everyone on the registration details. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.